and welcome to Mastermind with me, Clive Myrie. In the spotlight tonight are Robert Hemming, a writer. His specialist subject is the German battleship Bismarck. Rina Patel, a primary school teacher, whose subject is the musician and founder member of Pink Floyd, Syd Barrett. Isabel Mosley, a communications manager. Her specialist subject is the Spanish poet and playwright Federico García Lorca. And Paul Judge, an airline pilot, will be answering questions on the life and career of the basketball player Magic Johnson. It can be lonely out there with no teammates to help you on, no conferring, no coach on the sidelines to push you on. All our contenders are left with is the ticking clock, the glare of the spotlight, an unforgiving interrogator, and the black chair. It is tough, make no mistake, but the price for all the hard work is a precious place in the semi-finals of television's toughest quiz. 2 minutes on a specialist subject and 2.5 minutes on general knowledge will decide. So, can I ask our first contender to join us, please? Your name?
Robert Hemming.
Your occupation?
Writer.
And your specialist subject?
Battleship Bismarck.
The heavily armoured German battleship dispatched to target Allied convoys in the Atlantic, which was sunk in May 1941 after only 8 days at sea. In 2 minutes, let's go. In which company's Hamburg shipyard was the battleship Bismarck built before being commissioned into the German Navy in August 1940?
Voss.
Yes, the 4 main gun turrets aboard the Bismarck, which were each crewed by around 70 men, were called Anton, Bruno, Caesar, and what else?
Dora.
Yes. Following his career success in Operation Berlin, which naval officer was appointed by Grand Admiral Raeder to be the fleet commander in overall control of the Bismarck's operations at the Atlantic in April 1941?
Gunther Lütjens.
Yes, conceptual designs for the Bismarck began unofficially in 1932, with Admiral Raeder finally deciding in May 1935 that the 8 main battery guns would each be how many millimeters in diameter?
320.
No, 380. Which Swedish cruiser spotted the Bismarck's fleet as she passed through the Kattegat on the 20th of May, soon after the commencement of her mission? Information that soon found its way to British naval intelligence.
Gotland.
Yes, what name was given to the operation to attack Allied merchant shipping in the Atlantic, under which the Bismarck set sail on the 19th of May, 1941?
Operation Roy Newbung.
Yes. Who was the commander of the heavy cruiser Prince Eugen, which sailed with the Bismarck in the initial stages of her commerce raiding operation in the Atlantic?
Captain Brinkmann.
Yes. The Bismarck anchored overnight at which town in Schleswig-Holstein as she made her way towards the Polish seaport of Gdynia, renamed Gotenhafen by the Nazis, to begin sea trials in the Baltic?
Gdynia.
No, Brunsbüttel Roads. Who was the commander-in-chief of the British Home Fleet who orchestrated the pursuit and destruction of the Bismarck from his flagship, HMS King George V?
John Tovey.
Yes. With what 3 words did Lütjens conclude his demoralising address to the ship's officers and men, which stated that for us seamen, the question now is...
Do or die.
No, victory or death. During the ship's final battle, which of the Bismarck's gunnery officers... I've done it so finish. Which of the Bismarck's gunnery officers received the news that he'd been awarded the Knight's Cross for his actions that had resulted in the sinking of HMS Hood?
Commander Schneider.
It is Adalbert Schneider. And at the end of that round, Robert, you had no passes, and you've got 8 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name?
Rina Patel.
Your occupation?
Primary school teacher.
And your specialist subject?
Syd Barrett.
The enigmatic and troubled musician and artist who was a founder member of Pink Floyd and who wrote much of the band's early material. 2 minutes. Let's go. Roger Keith Barrett, later known as Syd, was born in 1946 in which city, where his father, Dr. Arthur Max Barrett, was a renowned pathologist?
Cambridge.
Yes. When Barrett was accepted into Camberwell Art College in 1964, he took up residence in a house in Stanhope Gardens, Highgate, which was owned by which part-time art lecturer?
Mike Leonard.
Yes, which song written by Barrett for Pink Floyd's The Piper at the Gates of Dawn album includes the words, 7 is the number of the young light. It forms when darkness is increased by 1.
Chapter 24.
Yes, although many of Barrett's songs were published by Lupus Music and other firms, which company published his first Pink Floyd success, Arnold Lane, and its B-side, Candy and the Currant Bun?
Electra.
No, Dunmo. The song Golden Hair on Barrett's first solo album, The Madcap Laughs, features lyrics drawn from an early 20th century poem by which writer?
James Joyce.
Yes, in July 1967, Pink Floyd were forced to abandon an appearance on which radio programme after Barrett walked out of the recording at the BBC's Playhouse Theatre?
Saturday Club.
Yes, what's the name of the drummer with the band Humble Pie who played on Barrett's self-titled second solo album?
Jerry Shirley.
Yes, Barrett's erratic behaviour eventually resulted in Pink Floyd quietly removing him from the band, a process that began in early 1968 when they failed to collect him on their way to play a gig in which city?
Hastings.
No, Southampton. In 1970, Barrett made a brief return to live performing when he played at the Extravaganza 70 Music and Fashion Festival, held at which venue in London?
Kensington Olympia.
Yes, what was the name of the band formed by Barrett in 1972 with the musicians Twink Alder and Jack Monk, which played only a handful of gigs and lasted only about a month before splitting up?
Stars.
Yes, as Barrett's health declined in the 1980s. He spent many months living at which charitable institution in Essex, where it was hoped his mental well-being could be improved?
Greenwoods.
Yes, although he was reclusive in later life, 5 years before his death in 2006, Barrett agreed to autograph deluxe copies of which book? I've studied So Finish by the photographer Mick Rock that featured dozens of images of the musician.
Psychedelic Renegades.
It is Psychedelic Renegades. And Rena, you had no passes, and at the end of that round, you've got 10 points.
Thank you.
And our next contender, please. Your name.
Isabel Mosley,
Your occupation.
Communications Manager.
And your specialist subject.
Federico García Lorca.
The Spanish poet and playwright who was executed by the fascists during the early weeks of the Spanish Civil War. In 2 minutes, let's go. Federico García Lorca was born in 1898 in the village of Fuente Vaqueros, and in 1909 his family moved to which city?
Granada.
Yes, in 1915, Lorca began meeting regularly with other writers, artists and academics at the Alameda Cafe in Granada, and the group became known by what name?
El Rinconcillo.
Yes, in Lorca's poem Canción Menor, or Minor Song, the poet compares himself to two famous frustrated lovers from literature, Cyrano de Bergerac and who else?
Pass.
Lorca's first book, Impressions and Landscapes, was published in 1918 when he was just 19 years old and includes pieces written about a series of study trips around Spain, organised by which of his university professors?
Martín Domínguez Berrueta.
Yes, Lorca's first play, The Butterfly's Evil Spell, about a cockroach that falls in love with an injured butterfly, premiered at which theatre in Madrid in March 1920?
The Teatro Eslava.
Yes, while at university in Madrid in 1923, Lorca met and began an intense friendship with which surrealist artist who would feature representations of Lorca in a number of his paintings?
Salvador Dali.
Yes, Lorca was the artistic director for what touring theatre company which performed free productions of classic plays across Spain during the early to mid-1930s?
La Barraca.
Yes, which Catalan stage designer travelled with Lorca to Argentina in October 1933 and designed the sets and costumes for the Buenos Aires production of The Shoemaker's Prodigious Wife?
Manuel Fontanals.
Yes, what's the title of Lorca's collection of poems written in honour of the old Arab poets of Granada, which was not published until after his death?
The Divan Tamarit.
Yes, Lorca was an accomplished pianist and recorded 5 gramophone records with the flamenco dancer and singer Encarnacion López Hulvez, which were released on what record label in 1931?
La Argentinita.
No, his master's voice after his arrest for espionage in August 1936. Lorca was executed a few days later. I'll start it or finish. Executed a few days later, having spent his final hours at Villa Concha, a summer residence for school children that was known locally by what name?
La Colonia.
It is La Colonia. Isabel, you had just the one pass. Lorca's poem Canción Menor, or Minor Song. The poet compares himself to two famous frustrated lovers in literature, Cyrano de Bergerac and Don Quixote. And at the end of that round, Isabel, you've got 9 points.
Thank you.
our final contender, please. Your name.
Paul Judge.
Your occupation.
Airline pilot.
And your specialist subject.
The life and career of Magic Johnson.
Yeah, the American basketball star born in Lansing, Michigan in 1959 and widely regarded as one of the greatest players of all time. In 2 minutes, let's go. At the 1979 NBA draft, Earvin Magic Johnson was selected first overall by which team for whom he would play for his entire NBA career?
Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, despite regularly playing point guard, Johnson started Game 6 of the 1980 NBA Finals in which other position, scoring 42 points and becoming the first rookie to win the NBA Finals Most Valuable Player award.
Center.
Yes, as a high school star, Johnson played some one-on-one games in Detroit and Lansing with which professional player against whom he would later play in the NBA?
Pass.
Johnson made his NBA debut against which team, enthusiastically hugging Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who'd hit the game-winning shot?
San Diego Clippers.
Yes, what's the name of the Lakers head coach who was sacked in 1981 shortly after a dispute with Johnson about the team's style of play and Johnson's subsequent threat to leave the Lakers?
Paul Westhead.
Yes, the sports journalist Fred Stabley Jr. suggested the nickname Magic after watching a 15-year-old Johnson finish with 36 points, 18 rebounds and 16 assists in a game against which other school?
Jackson Parkside.
Yes, after parting ways with Charles Tucker, who'd represented him since he turned professional, Johnson appointed which old friend and Lakers employee as his new agent in 1986?
Lon Rosen.
Yes, at the 1988 NBA Finals, Johnson helped the Lakers become the first side to win back-to-back championships since the 1960s, when he was their top scorer in 2 games against which team?
Detroit Pistons.
Yes, in 1989, after being named as the regular season MVP for a second time, Johnson was forced to miss most of the finals after sustaining what injury in Game 2?
Hamstring. Torn hamstring.
Yes. What's the name of the Lakers team doctor who, in October 1991, informed Johnson that he tested positive for HIV following a routine blood test?
Michael Melman.
Yes, on the day after Johnson had announced his HIV diagnosis and retirement from basketball, he appeared on which comedian's late-night television talk show to reassure people about his well-being?
Arsenio Hall.
It was Arsenio Hall. So, Paul, you had just the one pass. As a high school star, Johnson played some one-on-one games in Detroit and Lansing with George Gervin.
Yeah.
And at the end of that round, Paul, you've got 10 points.
Thank you.
And at the end of the specialist subjects round, let's have a look at the scores. It's nice and tight. In 4th place with 8 points, it's Robert. In 3rd place with 9 points, it's Isabel. And in joint 1st place with 10 points each, it's Rena and Paul. So now, the general knowledge round, and if there's a tie at the end, then the number of passes is taken into account. And the person with the fewer passes is the winner. And if they're tied on passes as well, it's a tie break. So let's ask Robert to join us again, please. So, Robert, you start with 8 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Let's go. What word for a sharp instrument used in sewing is also a term for the thin leaves of certain conifer trees, such as spruce, pine, and fir?
Needle.
Yes. Which European river flows through 4 capital cities, namely Vienna, Bratislava, Budapest, and Belgrade?
Danube.
Yes. The 44 Scotland Street series of novels by Alexander McCall Smith are set mainly in which British city?
Edinburgh.
Yes. Which actress rose to fame in the role of Purdy in the 1970s television series The New Avengers?
Gemina Lumley.
Yes. What's the name of the open-air theatre set on the side of a cliff above Porthcurno Beach in West Cornwall?
Perranporth.
No, the Minack Theatre. In February 2023, which American football team won the Super Bowl for the 2nd time in 4 years with victory over the Philadelphia Eagles?
New England Patriots.
No, the Kansas City Chiefs. Which British punk band, whose biggest hit single was the title track of their 1978 album, Germ-Free Adolescence, was fronted by the singer known as Polystyrene?
Pass.
The name of the popular Mexican dish, chili con carne, translates literally from Spanish as chili with what?
Meat.
Yes. What gender-neutral name is commonly used for the large, colourful birds of the genera Parvo and Afroparvo, whose males are known as peacocks and the females as peahens?
Pass.
In November 1967, the BBC launched its first local radio station in which English city in the East Midlands?
Nottingham.
No, Leicester. In the Western Christian calendar, the first day of Lent, which immediately follows Shrove Tuesday, is known by what name?
Ash Wednesday.
Yes, which US president was awarded the 1906 Nobel Peace Prize for his work in ending the Russo-Japanese War?
Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes. What Andrew Lloyd Webber musical based on a 1950 film features songs entitled Every Movie's a Circus, As If We Never Said Goodbye, and Too Much in Love to Care?
Sunset Boulevard.
Yes, the adjective. Caprine means relating to what animal?
Goat.
Yes. What was the first name of the French composer Jean-Michel Jarre's father, who won Oscars for his film scores such as those for Lawrence of Arabia and A Passage to India?
Michel.
No, Maurice. In 1536, King Henry VIII, wearing full armour, fell from his horse and suffered near-fatal injuries while taking part in what sporting activity?
Boar hunting.
No, jousting. What common lung condition that causes occasional breathing difficulties? I've started, so I'll finish. That causes occasional breathing difficulties has a name derived from a Greek word meaning to breathe hard or pant.
Psittacosis.
No, it's asthma.
Ah.
Yes. Robert, you had two passes. What gender-neutral name commonly used for the large, colourful birds of the genera Parvo and Afroparvo? Peafowl. And that punk band fronted by Polystyrene is X-Ray Specs. And at the end of that round, Robert, you've got 17 points. Next up is Isabel. So, Isabel, you start with 9 points. The score to beat as it stands is 17 points, and you've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Let's go. Which month in the Gregorian calendar is named after the Roman statesman Julius Caesar?
July.
Yes. What word, meaning yearly, is used to refer to a plant that lives for only 1 year or growing season?
Annual.
Yes, the medieval cathedral of which small English city, just north of Birmingham, is unusual in that it has 3 spires known locally as the Ladies of the Vale.
Lincoln.
No, Lichfield. At the 2010 UK general election, the former television presenter Esther McVeigh was elected as an MP, representing which political party?
The Conservatives.
Yes, which 3rd century bishop of Paris was later canonised and became a patron saint of France?
Louis.
No, Saint-Denis. What name from a Greek word for tube or pipe is given to a small cylindrical device with a thin hollow needle attached, which is used to inject medicine or take a blood sample?
Syringe.
Yes, the funk soul song, which was a Grammy Award-winning hit single for the Temptations in the 1970s, is entitled Papa Was a what?
Rolling Stone.
Yes, what Italian dessert, usually made with double cream and gelatin, has a name meaning cooked cream?
Panna cotta.
Yes, which American filmmaker who died in 2014 worked with Bill Murray on several films, directing him in Caddyshack and Groundhog Day?
Pass.
The capital city of the Seychelles is named after which British monarch?
Victoria.
Yes, in February 2023, which tennis player surpassed Steffi Graf's record for the most weeks spent as world #1 when he achieved a 378th week at the top of the men's rankings?
Djokovic.
Yes, Sharon Gless and Tyne Daly played the title characters in what 1980s television series about 2 detectives working for the New York Police Department?
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
No, Cagney and Lacey. What children's song written in the 1950s opens with the words, "To Bombay, a travelling circus came"?
Nellie the Elephant.
Yes, what dish of thin, watery porridge is served up daily to the workhouse boys in the Charles Dickens novel Oliver Twist and is regularly eaten by Mr. Woodhouse in Jane Austen's Emma?
Gruel.
Yes, an old-style fruit machine operated by pulling down a lever at one side is known as a one-armed what?
Jack.
No, bandit. Which major engagement of the English Civil War was fought a few miles west of York in July 1644, resulting in a decisive victory for the parliamentarians?
Battle of Bosworth.
No, Battle of Marston Moor. What name, sometimes abbreviated to the Fed, is given to the Central Bank of the United States?
Federal Reserve.
It is the Federal Reserve. Just the one pass, Isabel. The American filmmaker who died in 2014, he made Groundhog Day, Caddyshack, Harold Ramis. And at the end of that round, Isabel, you've got 20 points.
Thank you.
Next up, it's Rena. So, Rena, you start with 10 points. The score to beat as it stands is 20 points. You've got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Let's go. In the context of a football match, the term hat-trick refers to the scoring of how many goals by an individual player?
3.
Yes, the television drama series 10 Pound Poms, first shown in 2023, is about British people in the 1950s migrating to what country?
Pass.
Which of the planets in our solar system has the highest surface temperature at more than 450 degrees Celsius?
Venus.
Yes, the theme song for the 1989 James Bond film Licence to Kill was performed by which Grammy Award-winning American singer?
Pass.
Which city is the most populous in Brazil and was named in honour of the Saints' Day on which it was founded by Jesuit missionaries in 1554?
Sao Paulo.
Yes, the 2-penny blue, first issued in 1840, was one of the first examples of what now collectible items?
Stamp.
Yes, which 19th century monk is sometimes known as the father of genetics after studying the principles of heredity through experimentation with pea plants?
Gregor Mendel.
Yes, which writer succeeded Sir John Betjeman as poet laureate in 1984 and held the post for 14 years?
Andrew Motion.
No, Ted Hughes. What title of nobility derived from a Latin word meaning leader is the highest of the 5 ranks of the British peerage?
Duke.
Yes, in the 1988 film version of Hairspray, which actress and chat show host plays the lead role of Tracy Turnblad?
Ricky Lake.
Yes, members of which Scottish clan were massacred at Glencoe in 1692 by soldiers from the Earl of Argyll's regiment commanded by Captain Robert Campbell?
Presbyterians.
No, MacDonald. What comic ballet, with music by Leo Delibes, first performed in 1870, features the betrothed characters Swanhilda and France?
Lacme.
No, Coppelia. Which Florentine Renaissance painter's Italian nickname, meaning little barrel, was originally given to his older brother Giovanni and was later adopted as the family surname?
Pass.
Which European capital city has a metro system with stations named after the cyclist Eddy Merckx and the singer and actor Jacques Brel?
Paris.
No, Brussels. The 2021 book, Odd Boy Out, is an autobiography of which British writer, panel show regular and former MP?
Pass.
The culinary term au poivre is used to indicate that a dish is flavoured with a generous quantity of what spice?
Pepper.
Yes, in the song Do Re Mi from The Sound of Music, which note is defined as a note to follow so?
Ray.
No, La. Rena, you've got 4 passes. Giles Brandreth wrote the book Odd Boy Out, his biography. Botticelli is the Florentine Renaissance painter's Italian nickname, meaning little barrel. Gladys Knight sang the theme tune to the Bond film in 1989, Licence to Kill. And 10 Pound Poms, they were off to Oz, Australia. At the end of that round, Rena, you've got 18 points. And finally, let's have Paul again, please. Paul, you start with 10 points. The score to beat to get through to the semi-finals is Isabel's 20 points. You've now got 2.5 minutes on general knowledge. Let's go. What was the surname of the US president often referred to by his initials JFK?
Kennedy.
Yes, the 2017 book entitled Only Fools and Stories is an autobiography of which knighted British actor?
David Jason.
Yes, the sweet fortified wine Marsala is named after a port on which Italian island?
Sicily.
Yes, in which sport did Katie Ledecky, representing the United States, win a record 6 individual gold medals at 3 consecutive Olympic Games from 2012?
Hurdling.
No, swimming. Which lightweight metal is the 3rd most abundant element and the most abundant metal in the Earth's crust?
Aluminium.
Yes. What radio comedy series, first broadcast in 1965, featured characters called Rambling Sid Rumpo, Dame Celia Mole Strangler, and Lady Beatrice Counterblast?
Goon Show.
No, Round the Horn. In the human body, which bones are conventionally divided into groups such as the thoracic, lumbar, and sacral?
Vertebrae.
Yes. In July 2022, which British singer had a UK #1 with his 5th studio album, The Theory of Whatever?
Ed Sheeran.
No, Jamie T. According to the Highway Code, at a roundabout in the UK, unless directed otherwise, a driver should give priority to traffic approaching from which direction?
From the right.
Yes, which Hollywood studio established by a merger in 1928 and later run by Howard Hughes, released the films King Kong, Citizen Kane and It's a Wonderful Life?
United Artists?
No, RKO Pictures. Most of the territory in the ancient Roman province of Lusitania is now part of which modern-day European country?
Spain.
No, Portugal. What stage play written by Willie Russell about a disenchanted Liverpudlian housewife who secretly goes on holiday to Greece was revived in London's West End in 2023 with Sheridan Smith in the title role?
Shirley Valentine?
Yes, the influential jazz album A Love Supreme, released in 1965, is by which American saxophonist?
John Coltrane.
Yes, the roots of what plant are added to those of dandelion to make a soft drink produced in Britain since the Middle Ages?
Burdock.
Yes, the singer Frank Sinatra in the late 1960s and the pianist and conductor Andre Previn in the 1970s were the first and second husbands of which American actress?
Mia Farrow.
Yes, what four-letter name derived from a Latin word for ship is given to the main central part of a Christian church where the congregation are seated?
Nave.
Yes, which Scottish mathematician originated the concept of logarithms as an aid to calculation and published his findings in 1614?
Napier.
Yes, it is John Napier. Paul, you had no passes, and you just squeezed it. 22 points.
Wow. Thank you.
A high-scoring game and a credit to our contenders. Let's have a look at the final scores. In fourth place with 17 points, Robert. In third place with 18 points, it's Rena. In second place with 20 points, it's Isabel. And in first place with 22 points, it's Paul, which means he goes through to the semi-finals. Congratulations to him. Now, if you'd like to be a contender in the next series, please go to our website, bbc.co.uk/mastermind, and you can follow us at Mastermind Quiz. Join us again next time for more Masterminds. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
To be quite honest. It's the pinnacle of quizzes, and yeah, it's amazing just to get through to the next round.
Paul, you had no passes, and you just squeezed it. 22 points.
Wow. A bit of a special memory, actually, for Mastermind. I used to watch it with my grandfather when I was a very young lad, and all those years made me want to be on it, see if I can be a quizzer. So, that's for you, Grandad.